Good evening and welcome to Instructional Design from the Ground Up, your home for everything ISD, SME, teacher, trainer, subject matter expert, no matter what you are. Even if you're an apprenticeship, this is a place for you. And to prove that, we brought David along tonight. He's going to talk to us about apprenticeship, what it's all about, his adventures in working with me in the instructor certification program at
hmm
IMI. We'll also throw some other stuff around. But David, welcome to this show. And by golly, you've been
Thank
one of
you.
the most faithful followers and subscribers. You're there whenever you can be for our live shows, and we absolutely appreciate that. And I know Denise is going to do a bang up job doing an introduction, and then we're going to mess with you.
All right.
Absolutely. Let me do my bang up job.
All right.
David, so wonderful to have you here. For everybody listening, viewing this, David Adams is an instructor and social media director at the District Council Training Center for the International Union of Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers in Addison, Illinois. His credo is to lead by example with the fortitude to safely do what it takes. He feels blessed to be able to give back to the union in any way that he can. When apprentices first arrive in the class, they learn the value of the phrase, done, what's next? He strives to
Yeah.
instill his students not only with the necessary skills to thrive and survive, but also for the love of the craft. Looking forward, his vision is to help fortify the International Union of Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers in Addison, Illinois, founded in 1865, for the next 3 centuries. Be sure to check out at Brick Instructor the next time you are on TikTok. David, you are a
It might
TikTok.
be a tic tac.
You might be a TikTok, I don't know, but a TikTok enthusiast. You created a really funny one for Chuck, no, probably a couple months back, and it was so funny, really funny. You're great at that, but you're also great at what you do. And I really can't wait to dig into this whole concept of motivational teaching through apprenticeships.
All
And
right.
I know that you are going to give us a little mini presentation here tonight, and then we're going to open it up and discuss everything that you presented to us. So, what do you say we get started with your presentation?
All right. Let's roll.
All right, so here we are.
All right. I'd like to start off by saying, let's pull from the Truman Show. Um, good morning, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, good night. So depending on when you're watching this, that's for you. So I'd like you guys to sit back and relax, and I'm going to kind of go over my own particular style of teaching. I like to call it motivational teaching. One of the most important days you have with a new group is day one. It's the day you establish the very foundation of a new class. It's the day to express your expectation and to listen to theirs. It's the day you might need to get rid of the ones who have the blank stares. Okay. So start off. What is an apprenticeship? You know, let's go to the next slide. According to the World History's Encyclopedia author, one of the authors, Mark Cartwright, apprenticeships were started when the medieval trades were an essential part of the daily welfare of the community, and those who learned a skill through apprenticeship could make higher and more regular income than farmers or soldiers. Sounds like even today. Professionals like millers, blacksmiths, makers, bakers, and weavers, they group together by their trade to form guilds to protect their rights, guarantee prices, maintain industry standards, and keep out unlicensed, inferior products and competition. Simply put, an apprenticeship is a learning model that is classroom and hands-on training coupled with a work-based earn while you learn platform. So on day one, the apprentices walk into the room and I start to write on the board the word possibilities. And I pause and I ask them, what does the word possibilities mean to you? So I want to start out and kind of, I'm starting to gauge the group, right? And I want to spark an interest in them. So possibilities, I write it out and I want them to dream of what the possibilities are. You get a few students that'll Well, it's possible that I could complete this program and I could pay for this, I could pay that, I want to get a car, and it's possible for this, possible for that. And go on for about 3 or 4 minutes. And then I walk up to the board and I'll circle the first I, then the second I, then the third I, then the fourth I. And I say, you have to say, I yourself have to give it that much effort. The letter I had to give it 4 times the effort of the letter P just to write the word possibility. Possibilities are endless and they are an opportunity, but you have to give that much extra effort in for it to come into fruition. All right, next slide. So on day one, we're still on day one. When they first walk into the room, then they're going to be asked a very critical question. I'm going to go around one by one and say, why are you here? Why are you here? And one by one, they're going to tell the group their name, what they've done in the past, and most importantly, why they are there. You see, it's in this moment they start to realize that not only are they pleading their case to the instructor, but they're pleading it to themselves. They need to realize for themselves and say it, what's the reason that they're there? It's going to be hard work. Our craft is not easy. So they need to know exactly what they're in for and why they're there. It's in this moment they start to realize it is not going to just be handed to them. It's going to be work, hard work. And it's in this moment they need to make the decision. Should I stay or should I go? Next slide. Next on the agenda is to show them what they're in for. As an example, I will explain to them this particular class that you see. They are taking the block for a walk, a long walk. So we call this blocker size. They carry the 38-pound blocks in each hand and walk around until we tell them to stop. In this picture is a class that was relentless. It's a class that would take on whatever was thrown at them. By the end, this class was literally a class of their own. By the end of the journey, they were trekking the block further than any other class before. And now, as I'm talking to the students, I'm also scanning the room again to see which of the students are looking around and pondering the question. Chuck, do you know what the question is?
I know the answer.
Should I stay or should I go?
Or should I go?
Yep, you gotta let me know. Yeah. All right.
You beat me to it, David. I was ready to start breaking out into song.
One thing for sure is don't let Denise sing.
Yeah.
Just,
Should I say? Okay.
all right. Next slide. So we are still in day one of pre-job. So why so much emphasis on day one is we have got to set the stage from the very beginning. You got to set the rules in place, the standards, the expectations from the get-go. They've heard the rules, the expectations, and each of our instructors have given their backstory. We will have finished playing Spanning 3 Centuries, which is a story of the International Union of Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers as told by the recently late Ed Eisner. Again, I'm looking for eye contact. I'm gauging for the ones with that spark that I can ignite that inner fire. And also I'm looking for ways to connect with the ones who might be just shy or timid. Next, I'd like to play an inspiration video of somebody with a type of rags to riches stories. One of my favorites is the story of Arnold Schwarzenegger, how he just had a dream of being a bodybuilder and he had a dream of being an actor and he had no plan B. That's what he was going to do. And he found a way to do it. He just put in the hard work. There was no plan B. So I'll play his story, somebody else's story, anybody who had that goal and I place such an emphasis on plans because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Quoting Benjamin Franklin. And if you know what you want, you can make a promise to yourself to do whatever it takes to make that promise come into fruition. And this is, I promise you, my friends, is the best way to help them set the stage to be successful. Next page. So as the weeks go by, the class size will dwindle down. We're losing students. That's because the one who still doubt themselves, they walk away. We're tasked with dismissing the ones who have unfortunate coordination. and they just can't complete the task. They don't have the skills necessary to get it done. This is calculated through various rubrics we call PARS, which stands for Performance Assessment Reports. As a side note, I'd like to point out that the verbiage is, how should I say, very Chuck Hodel-esque. Example, given a mortarboard with a spreading mock-up and workable mortar, the apprentice will ... and then the PAR rattles off all the performance-based objectives, including their time duration. Now, I'd like to turn your attention to the slide that you're looking at here. Meet Taylor. Taylor is standing at a mock-up, and the ends of it are actually, so the very corners are 5 feet tall. She's not a very tall girl. And when we have apprentices or pre-apprentices that are 6'4", that are ripped, that complain they can't lay the block at that last course, I show them this picture of Taylor and her completed wall that she finished 10 minutes early, and say, don't tell me you can't do it. Okay. I like to bring this around the class too. You know, if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you're finding an excuse. And right now, when a 6'4" gentleman tells me he can't do it, he's finding an excuse. And he's got to ask himself that question: should I stay or should I go? All right, next slide. So if you were to ask any of my pre-job students or apprentices, what's Mr. A's mantra? They would reply, done. What's next? And they probably would shout it in your face, because I have a little militaristic style. My father was a Vietnam vet, so I kind of had like 18 years of boot camp. And this goes to preparing them for working in the field. Here's how the typical past apprenticeships have gone. Those that have survived a pre-apprentice program, they're placed with a contractor. And I would like to point out, not all contractors or job sites are the same. In fact, they can be vastly different. Anyhow, when they arrive on the job, they're started off at 50% of the scale. This is a great deal for the contractor. Keep in mind, they've had to pass our PARs on brick and block, and they're not going to pass my class. I'm strict unless they can do the job. However, in the field, the job foreperson tends to use them for remedial tasks, like carrying things around, rubbing the walls, sweeping the floors, cutting the brick, which is fine. But if that's all they do, and you fast forward 3 years, they're still spending majority of the time on the saw, their skills haven't improved. And they will not stand a chance once they become a journey person. And we shot ourselves in the foot, where it's counterintuitive. Factoid of the day: did you know 85% of the apprentices training is in field? So it's truly tragic that there are journey persons out there without the necessary skills to keep their job. We've got to make a change. And that's why one of my many missions is to ensure every contractor I speak to, I slip into the conversation the necessity to get the apprentices on the wall. That's why my mantra is done. What's next? So it's also to remind the apprentice to get whatever remedial task they're working on done. Then go to the foreperson and say, done. What's next? Do this. Done. What's next? Did you make the cuts? Yeah, done. What's next? Did you sweep? Done. What's next? Did you rub? Done. What's next? Why do you keep saying that? And that's when they say, put me on the wall, because it's the only way I'm going to improve my skill, which ensures I have a job, which will ensure I keep paying into the benefits so you can one day retire. That usually works. Now, as a journey worker and their foreperson or their boss, they should know already that fact. And they should be focused on their success, to teach them all the skills that they know, so our craft carries on. Teach them the passion, teach them the love of the craft, teach them the beauty that's there, to help our craft to be the very best it can be, and we get continued success. Next slide. So over the duration of their apprenticeship, they're required to come back in for training. Each time they come back, they're immersed in different specialized areas of our craft, with safety always as a priority. Unfortunately, that gets lost a little bit in translation in the field, so we have to regroup back around and put the focus back on safety. We want them to go home every day the same way that they arrived. This not only helps them to hone their trial skills, but also affords the opportunity to teach them new craft skills as well. This next part's very important. It's during this time of assessment that we as instructors need to discern how their overall well-being is. Let's face it, construction sites they're hostile, rough environments. From the sheer physicality of the work to the potential verbal or physical abuse, it can be extremely stressful. That's why apprentices need to know they can bring any of their concern to us. As their instructors, we must be able to acknowledge and assist them in any way we're able to. You never know, you might just save their life. In fact, you might just save their life and never know it. I, for one, would rather never know than to lose a student knowing that I could have done more. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. On the lighter side, game on. Miko, I agree 100%. Gamification is an essential part of the class. This can be done through a variety of activities, and you can let your imagination run wild. The top picture depicted was during a foreman's class, and I just needed an activity. And it kind of just had to make it up on the spot. So the rules are we're going to build a bridge. The desks are 63 inches apart. We're splitting the room into two teams. Each team is given 2 sheets of grade D paper. It's 24 by 36 and 3 feet of masking tape. They're given 5 minutes to plan and 10 minutes to build. And the bridge that holds the most weight wins. We pull out the little mini bricks. We stick it on the bridge. In fact, the bridge that you see the guy pushing down on, I had to pull out real bricks because it held all 76 of my mini bricks. And we had to switch over to real bricks. And then we had 4 real bricks on there. And then he finally just pushed down on it to get the table to rock and break. It actually held out really, really well. So it was a lot of fun activity. The winning team will receive swag that I get stockpiled from different various suppliers or stuff that I bring in. And the center picture is during an OSHA class. We got that little mini scaffold. And anytime we pull it out, all the seasoned workers, they start smiling and start gladly bossing around the apprentices. It's, at that point, it's a mixed class between journey workers and apprentices that are coming in for the training. And they'll boss them around and tell them the proper sequence of building the scaffold. And then the last picture is also from an OSHA class. It's they're playing a Kahoot. I made an OSHA Kahoot, and it is a hoot if you haven't tried it. So I had to. Next page. When apprentices go above and beyond at the training center and also in the field, they are selected to compete in different types of competitions via the International Union Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers, and also through the Mason Contractors Association of America. This is not only to reward them financially, but it's an emotional reward, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of pride, and overall well-being that you are acknowledged for what you're learning and your skill. It's more than words. It really is. So after all, it's not only a goal to foster our apprentices into leading roles within our company, but also to inspire the best of them to one day become union contractors for themselves. All right, next slide. Once all the requirements have been met, they will be sworn in as journey persons. As journey persons, they will come back for safety training, as well as the opportunity for some upgrade training. Examples is the foreman's class, as you saw depicted, or rain screen training, or one of my favorites, fireplace class. So with that, as I hand the mic back over to you guys, I have just but one question to our last slide. What's next?
Well, what's next is we thank you for an incredible presentation. And, you know, the one thing I love about apprenticeship is apprenticeship instructors. And what I know to be true is that no one ever sets out to be an apprenticeship instructor.
True.
Do you know anyone who in high school said, I'm going to be an apprenticeship instructor?
However, in 2004, I came in to buy tools in our training center, and I decided that day I was going to be an instructor.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
That's how it
Yeah.
happened. What what
I was,
what what was
I
that
was running
moment
work
like?
in the field, and I had some apprentices that came by my job, and they just didn't stick. And
Yep.
I wanted to be able to do more and help. And I came in, I'm like, all right, what do I need to do? And I
Yep.
put a goal in place, and it took until 2018 to make it come into fruition. But
But that's
it
the
wasn't
deal.
an original goal. I was going to be an actor in Hollywood, but no,
Well, yeah, me too. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
after my
I think
brief
I had that dream
relationship,
myself. Yes.
yeah.
Uh,
But the thing that you find, and I've been working with apprenticeship, gosh, a very long time, been in thousands of apprenticeship classrooms. And the one thing I know is that nobody's there for the money. Nobody is an apprenticeship instructor because of the income. In fact, a lot of them come from managerial positions, either superintendents or
right.
something else, and come into the classroom because they want to give back. They want to prepare a legacy for their careers and share their knowledge and do these things. And that's what sets this apart from a lot of other things. These are very dedicated people that are there to serve their communities, to serve the people that follow them. The men and women that are apprentices have to work. Nothing is given to an apprentice, nothing,
No,
except
not
an
at all.
opportunity. And
Right.
I really don't think people understand or appreciate how big apprenticeship is. So what I did today is did some research. I got down the
Okay.
2021 numbers from the Bureau of so and so and so and so. And in 2021, 241,000 new apprentices entered the apprenticeship system. So a quarter of a
Wow.
million new
Wow.
apprentices.
That's fantastic.
Nationwide, there are 593,000 apprentices presently in the apprenticeship system. So over 500,000.
Yeah.
96,000 apprentices graduated
Okay.
in 2021.
Gotcha.
And to keep going, there are 27,000 registered apprenticeships in this country.
Okay.
So think about that, 27,000. And there were 2,879 new apprenticeship programs in 2021. So 10% increase essentially. So you're talking about really big numbers. And what's happening? I mean, when I was first hired at the AFL-CIO, my first job was National Director of the Young Workers Program. And my responsibility was to do the school to work transition stuff. So show people that there were options if they didn't feel that they wanted to go to college or they didn't feel qualified, or like me, I didn't go to college. I went directly to AT&T
Hmm.
because that's what I enjoyed doing. I liked that kind of work at that time.
Sure.
And it was okay in Dayton, Ohio to do that at that particular time
Hmm.
because it was a very blue collar town and that you worked for Dayton Power and Light, you worked for the phone company, you worked at Chrysler, you worked at NCR. That was just kind of what you did.
Sure.
And as we matured through the 70s and 80s, then it became this, well, if you don't go to college, you're not ever going to have anything to rely on, or you're not going to have a career that's going to be successful for you financially. And one of the first things I did was I took the first 10 years out of high school and compared income from people that went to college and people that went into apprenticeship.
Gotcha.
And what we found was after 10 years, the people in apprenticeship were so statistically significantly ahead of the people that went to college that there
Hmm.
was no comparison. And
Yeah.
except for a small number of people that go to college and get certain degrees, law and accounting and what have you, and there's other fields that pay too. I mean, it's all over the board. But the point being, you don't have to get a college degree to be
Right.
successful. And now I think what we're seeing coming back is the same notion of, okay, look at all these people that went to college and they now have hundreds of thousands of dollars of tuition debt that they need to
Yep.
pay back, or there's some other thing. You start doing the math, and there are a lot of times when going to apprenticeship is an incredibly better financial decision for someone.
And a lot of times these things happen when you become older in life too. Like my father was 50 years old when he
That's right, he
became a
was.
plumbing apprentice. And
Right.
he just decided that he wanted a better life and he has always loved plumbing. and he had
Sure.
an opportunity to work with somebody as an apprentice. And he didn't. He had to do that for, I don't know how many years, four
Five
years,
with
5 years.
five.
And he went to he went to school 2 nights a week to learn the trade as well, on top of working all day as an apprentice. And he's 78. He's going to be 79 this year, and he's
Yeah,
still working.
that's because he loves it.
He loves it, and
Exactly.
he absolutely loves what he does, and he's like the neighborhood plumber. He gets calls all the time. He's on vacation, he gets calls, Fred, can you come fix my, and he loves it. So
Hmm.
it's yeah, he's a union plumber, and
Hmm.
he's retired from the union at this point, but he still does it on the side. And that's a testament to a trade that is out there that you can do until you can't do it anymore. It's
Right.
That's the great thing about the trades. It's a passion point for a lot of people.
It's a passion point, and it is a physical job, but I'll tell you what, you get in good shape, and you're healthy, and you're active, and I know a lot of people that live a long life from being outdoors working every day.
My
You know,
father is
Yeah.
so fit, it's crazy. Like he's got muscles, and he's 79 years old, and he's
Yeah.
still like slinging wood all over the place, chopping wood by hand, and it's wonderful. He'll probably
But I
live a
think
very long life.
your father is a perfect example of how you need to reset your expectations about what's success and what isn't.
Yeah.
And what you're really going to do with what you have in front of you for your life. I mean, there are
right.
apprentices now that are in their 70s. I know for a fact there are.
Hmm.
And it's
Wow.
not within just one particular trade. It's just this notion of people are saying, you know, this whole notion of retiring at 65 or whatever is just nonsense.
Hmm.
If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I mean, what's the point of it? If there's
Right.
something new you can learn, a lot of times it's not even about the income. It's just about this is something I always wanted to do.
And you do.
So I know for a fact the summer apprenticeship programs have an age range from upper teens to 70s. And if you think about that, that says a lot about not only apprenticeship, but it also says a lot about where we are as a society and where we are as an economy. That there
Sure.
are alternatives to the old false narrative about academia.
Right.
And I can say that because I've been in academia for the last 30 years. So I've seen both sides of this, and I support and celebrate both sides of it. But it's not a one or nothing. It's not all or nothing. It's about
Hmm.
what
No.
best fits your needs and your personality in the way that you want to spend your time in your life. And we really need to get off of this notion that if you didn't get to college, you're not a success, because that's just so, it's complete and total nonsense.
It sure is.
No.
And David, you had mentioned something that really struck me, and you said, talking about, you ask your students why they are here, and
Hmm.
knowing. I think that's so important, first of all, for an instructor to get that out of the students,
Right.
to understand what their why is. I mean, it's important for everybody to know that. And I think especially with such a physically demanding type of job that they're going into, that kind of
Right.
a career, what is their why? And when you can help them to discover that as an instructor, that's so powerful. That really is. Do you find that some of your students struggle with knowing what their why is when it comes to this,
I
or
do find that, and that's why I was just about to bring up. So on week 3 of the apprenticeship, on a Friday, I'll ask that question again. We'll huddle up. We'll be in our laboratory. They'll be all dirty and sweaty from working, and we'll be in a big group circle. Okay, again, we'd like to. I want to address this. Why are you here? Because some of them are doubting themselves to pass. Some of them just passed, and they're moving to the next section. So there's a variety of emotions going on, and I want them to reaffirm it, and a lot of times they'll reaffirm it, and the next time they'll pass their par, and or I'll have somebody say, you know what, I just don't belong here, and I already know they're going to say that, but I'm helping them realize that, because if that's what's going to happen, even eventually a little bit 2 more weeks down the road, they need to go do something else rather than stick around if they're not going to make it. If their heart's not in it, that's what we need. If you're going to be in an apprenticeship, if you're going to go all in, your heart's got to be in it. You got to be able to have the ability to love what you're doing. And if you hate it after 3 weeks, then I got to ask you, why are you here? And time and time again, I get that, you know what? I think this is my last day. Okay, no hard feelings.
Yep. And that's the way you have to approach it, especially when you have young apprentices.
Yeah,
Your dad was different. Brother Martin, he made a choice. He was going to stick with it. And I know that. But, think about yourself at 18 or 19. And what did you know about life? And I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. And even at my age, those around me would argue that I know even less than I did when I was 18 in some ways. But I mean, really, when you talk about maturity and social maturity and this whole notion of intellectual property of who we are and what we think we are and where we're going to go, when I was growing up, you had one job. You went into whatever job it was, and you probably retired from that job. And then it went to about 7 jobs in a lifetime. And I think now it's probably closer to 10 or 15.
wow.
And it changes your perspective about what people think about employment. And that's the other thing. Just ask somebody to define work, define a career, define employment, define what you want to do economically with your life, and then try to put that in the context of whatever you decide to do to make that money. So unless you inherit a lot of money like Denise from from her dad, who was a plumber. But I mean, in all seriousness, how many people inherit money? I mean, I never had that good fortune, and I certainly don't think you can, at 18 years old, think, well, I don't have to put too much effort in that. Something great's going to happen to me financially. Well,
Right.
okay.
No, this brings me to a really good thought: is how do these your young apprentices?
Yeah.
How do they come to understand, to know that this is an option for them? And I ask this from the
Great
lens
question.
of, I have a nephew, I have a few nephews, but one in particular, he doesn't want to be in college. It's just not for him. He's a smart, intelligent kid. I mean, graduated top of his class in high school. He is done with school. He doesn't want to do it. He's 20 years old and he's finding his way in the world right now. But I think about him with something like this, so it would be so cool. But how does somebody find this? How do they fall
So
into it?
we have we'll have schools that will come here, and we'll do a little hands-on bricklaying with them, and make a field trip out of it. We also go to schools. Actually, the city of Chicago, we just did a big trade show. So we had a whole bunch of trades there. We took a bunch of bricks. We took mortar. We had hands-on bricklaying for about 3,000 kids over 1 week that came through, and every single kid wanted to lay some bricks. It was it was a blast. But they had that immersion to realize that it was an opportunity, and they're like, well, we can make how much, and we have insurance and this and that, and and their teachers are telling, yes, you want insurance, yes, you want healthcare, yes, and their parents might be with them too, and yeah, that's what you want, and then how we go to the doctor, well, that's what they're talking about, and you could actually go and have that covered, and you can be a part, and then you get others that realize the importance of just being part of a union and being a part of that brother and sisterhood of others that have your back, and how you're growing together and prospering together as a whole.
Oh, I love that. I love the fact that you expose kids, high school students, to the trades. I know when I was in high school, that was, a couple years ago, that was not what happened. It was
Mhm.
college, 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 or none.
Well,
And
that's the first thing we did was set up trips to high school.
That's excellent.
Because if you don't set it up, they're not going to come to you. I mean, you got to make the effort. You've got to show that there's alternatives, and you have to put it in a context that the schools are okay with. Because generally, for a very long period of time, the notion was everything is college prep in high school. And you have to get people out of that mindset. And sometimes they send them to school, have them go to college for a semester, and then talk to them. And they're going to have a different mindset because, okay, I've had 12 years of school. Now I'm going to do another 2 or another 4 or another 8.
Right.
Um, and I'm not going to make any money. I'm going to have all this debt. And what am I going to do if I don't get a job with this particular career choice that I've made? And I think it's become easier now. David, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's easier now to sell apprenticeship than it was 5
Oh
years
yeah.
or 10 years ago.
Well, it helps because we have a lot of people on a political level realizing the importance of unionism and how
Yeah.
there's been a big effort by the corporate world to strip away if corporate world can get rid of unions, they can knock everybody's salary down back to the toilet, and they'll be back in charge, more money in their pockets. So there's been a realization of that, and there's been a big push that I've noticed on Capitol Hill. Hey guys, we should allow more unionism in America, and let's rally behind this. Let's support
Yeah.
Americans by supporting unions. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
It's
as
like we
American as
always
baseball.
it's
You
like we
know,
always used to say, we need to hurry up and get in front of the parade.
right,
We just have to watch what's going on. And people want decent jobs. They want decent careers.
right,
They want benefits. They want to look at a retirement at some place and take
right,
care of their families. I mean, it's all simple
right. It's the
value
American
stuff.
dream.
It
Yeah.
is.
And everybody
Fair
wants,
pay,
yeah.
good life.
Good benefits.
On vacation with
Yeah.
benefits.
Benefits. What an option.
Right.
I know.
Uh, so,
It was the bricklayers union that was instrumental in the 8-hour workday.
yep.
Is
I
that
know.
right?
They were there. They were fighting.
Thank God for the bricklayers.
Right.
Well, they go
They're
back
there.
a long way. I mean,
Absolutely.
1865.
1865.
well, officially, but they go back to King Solomon's Temple, and you can do the
True.
math on
True.
that. And also, the English masonry trades actually had 3 levels. I don't know if you know this, David, but they had apprentices, they had journey, and they had the master. So you could be a master mason, you could be a journey person, or you'd start as an apprentice. And there's so much pride when you go to England and look at the work and look at the trade there. It's phenomenal. When I went to London, I used to post pictures all the time in the ICP Facebook group
Yeah.
of all the different things that I observed over there. And I'm not a tradesperson.
Yeah.
I'm an amateur. I just look at things from the perspective of somebody that really knows nothing about it, but just appreciates the work. And it's a trade. It'll always be a trade. It's not going anywhere. And when you see these brick machines that are automated, it's just laughable because it's just, come on, get real. So I think, David, what we've learned in this session with you is there's an incredible amount of energy behind apprenticeship, that this is a professional endeavor, that it's professional from several angles. First, from the instructional level, because you could teach anything you wanted to. If you want to teach in college or whatever you want to do, you could do that. You have chosen to teach an apprenticeship. You've chosen to be part of people maturing and getting careers and doing great things with their lives. And the other thing we've learned is it's growing. It is now considered a viable option, as we see with Denise's dad. And these are things that are changing, and it's subtle, but I think it's really, in the next 10 years, going to be even more powerful, because people are going to start making decisions based on their best interests and not what the world around them thinks they should be doing. So folks that want to go to college, go ahead. Have great careers that way. But for the rest of you, there's no obligation to go to college. There's no obligation to do what even your parents did if that's the choices they made. Look at what's best for you. Look at what you enjoy. How do you like to spend your time? How do you want to spend 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week? Is this really what you want to do for the next 30 or 40 years? I enjoyed climbing poles and working with my hands as much as I've enjoyed anything professionally in my life. And I think I'm a subset, but I am a set of people that feel that way. And David, it's people like you that make me so proud of apprenticeship. And I'm so proud I'm involved with you in the instructor certification program, of which you are a student now. So you've got this juxtaposition of being a student while being an instructor, which I always find interesting when I'm teaching that program. And Denise will be teaching with you in there. So if you're interested in an apprenticeship, there's lots of ways to get information. If you have a specific trade that you're thinking about, whether it's the masonry trades or whether it's an electrician or a plumber or anything else, there are lots of resources through your community that you can easily Google and look at apprenticeship programs in your area. And I can assure you that they'll pop up. Do your homework, make sure it's a good certified apprenticeship program. I think the labor management programs are by far the best. There are some other out there a little questionable, but the labor management programs, it's everybody's best interest, and you're going to find that they're exceptional without exception, as far as I can tell. So, David, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to get to see you in person in October, right? You'll be there
Yeah, I'll
October.
be there October 14th.
Okay, so I'll be there with you. Denise will be there at some point. I hope it's
Okay.
that week so you two can get together too. But we really do appreciate all your support for our channel here and for all the things you're doing for the men and women in apprenticeship within the brick plate trades. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much, David. And thank you to
Yes.
everyone for joining us.